Hello, everybody. Welcome to another exciting episode of Jimmy's Jambox. We're here. We're back at it again, and we're going to get on into it. But before we do, as always, please make sure to like, subscribe, push all the buttons, do all the things. You know, I don't know where they are, but you do, and I trust you. With that being said, here's a quick word about our sponsor.
Buddha's Berry, a delicate and earthy green tea. This blend of Roma, Krishna, and Vanatulsi is paired with organic blackberry leaf to create an inspiring tea that's a perfect morning ritual. The Brothers Apothecary. Fine teas and remedies.
All right, thank you all so much for watching again. Shout out The Brothers Apothecary. Make sure to click the link below. Go check out their stuff. Guarantee you're going to like it. And with that being said, let's go ahead and get on into it. Here is today's guest.
Hey everybody, my name's Djemini.
Hello. Thank you so much for joining us. Why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about where you're from, what you do, give us that like Tinder profile of your involvement with music.
Right on. So I was actually born in Portland. My parents moved up to Washington State, where we are, when I was not even a year old. I grew up just south of Seattle, in a little suburb called Federal Way. And so yeah, that's where I spent from pretty much 1 to 18. And then I came back to Portland for college, went to the University of Portland, and I really enjoyed my time there. And then after I graduated, I loved Portland and I wanted to stay here. And so it was just the perfect kind of situation to live with some friends from college afterwards. And then a couple of years ago, finally got my own place situated and I've been there since. And I've met a lot of musicians through the last year of really deciding to pursue music in a more serious way. And music was always present growing up. My mom is from a super musical family. She's from Guam, and a lot of islander families are huge. My mom is no exception. She's one of 17 children.
Oh, damn.
Yeah. So 8 brothers and 8 sisters, all from the same set of parents. It's pretty crazy. So I have a lot of aunts and uncles and cousins and other people, and pretty much everybody is musical in some way.
I was going to say, even if only half of them are, that's still
a lot of people.
Experiences.
Exactly. So I just grew up with that all the time. My mom is a beautiful singer, and she plays guitar, piano, and so it was just a constant in my house.
Yeah.
And then whenever we'd have family reunions, that was like basically just we eat and then play music.
Oh, yeah.
It was like
just one big super jam.
Yeah, it really was. And so when I was little, I just enjoyed it. And then as I got older, I got into piano lessons, and I didn't really love it, but it was kind of just like the thing, that your parents have you do. And I wanted to play guitar. That was the thing I asked. Can I do guitar lessons instead? My mom said, it'll be better if you learn piano first.
I got hit with the same thing. My dad was like, you have to do piano for a year before you can do guitar.
So I was same situation. And then I did that for years. And that was helpful because it was kind of as the time when I was starting the beginning of coming into my own as a musician, where it was in 7th and 8th grade where I got involved in like choir and the school play and those kinds of things. And I can get into that a little bit more later. And then I kind of took a hiatus when I was in high school. And because I couldn't be a real life Troy Bolton, I had to choose either basketball or music. And I wanted to be a basketball player so bad. So then I did that. I played basketball for most of high school, and I enjoyed that a lot. But there was always kind of that like nagging feeling of wanting to sing and do music. And it was my mom who always told me, oh, you have a beautiful voice. You should sing more. You should do something with that. But I never really took it seriously because I was like, oh, it's just my mom telling me that.
Yeah.
But then it was toward the end of high school when I started to pick the piano back up after not playing for a few years. And I was just YouTube University, learning all my favorite songs. The first song I remember learning was Ordinary People, John Legend. And that was the song that kind of opened my mind to being able to sing and play in a way that wasn't like the classical piano book stuff that I was learning through lessons, but like, oh, I can go sit and I know the basics enough to be able to learn a song and know the notes they're saying and play these and let me try and sing again. And that, when I did that, and then I played that to a couple other people in my family, and then some family friends that were visiting. They were like, "You should do this." And then I went to college, and my mom had bought my dad a guitar, I think when I was like a baby, maybe even before I was born. And it's just been sitting in the house for years. My mom would play her guitar. So this really cool Siegel guitar was just sitting in the house.
I love Siegel. That's what my acoustic got in the living room.
Beautiful. So that's the primary guitar that I still write everything on.
Oh, phenomenal instrument.
Yeah, you heard it here first. So I was really fortunate that just happened to be in our family. And as I was heading to college, I said, "Hey, is it cool if I take that guitar? Maybe I'll learn, when I'm there." And so I went, and it sat in my dorm room for the first couple months, kind of just looking at me. And I was like, telling for me to play, but I just never did. And you're adjusting to college and all these other things. And then it was right before Thanksgiving, my freshman year, and I was like, what if I went home and I played a couple songs for my mom and sang to her, and that would be really cool. I'd love to be able to share what she's given to me my whole life back with her. And so, I learned a couple very rudimentary things that I just thought my mom would like, and then I played them for her. We were sitting together just in her office before Thanksgiving, and she had always been supportive, kind of like I had mentioned, but it was never like a shocked, like, whoa, this is like something different. It was always just, oh, that's great.
Yeah.
But then I played her those couple songs. She was like, when did you start playing? And it was like a couple weeks ago. She was like, okay, do this. And the moment I got that, mom's cosign, I was like, oh, it's a wrap. Now I can do anything. And that was a really special moment. So I went back after that Thanksgiving break, and I came back here, and from then until Christmas, and then the entire Christmas break, when you're on semesters, it's a month long. Mm-hmm. And I'm not super close with anybody back home at the time. So it was literally just me and the guitar every day for 5-6 hours, whatever, just learning as much as I possibly could. Oh, yeah. And then I was hooked. And then by my sophomore year of high school, people knew me around campus as like the guy who plays guitar, either for I'm leading a thing, or I'm the music guy on the retreats, or I'm, playing around. It very quickly became part of my identity in college. And I was very proud of that. And then through COVID was when it was right before COVID when I felt confident enough to start releasing music. Mm-hmm. And I did that under a previous artist name, like my full government name, which is really interesting. And then COVID happened, like right as I released my fifth song or whatever. I was just doing a bunch of singles, and then COVID happened. I was like, well, perfect excuse for me to work on music and do more music.
True.
So then I did it all through that, but I didn't really feel as confident in releasing them, and I was just, a lot of crazy things were going on in the world that I just didn't feel as compelled to share it and put it out and even create anymore. And there was all kinds of situations that were happening leading up to 2022 that I was distanced a little bit from music, and that bummed me out. And then it was kind of in the middle of 2022 when I picked it back up. Mm-hmm. And I think as a lot of musician stories goes, after a breakup, you gotta use the musician as your therapy. Mm-hmm. And that's what I did. Even though nothing crazy happened, it was 2.5 years that I was with this girl, and it was tough, and it was hard to say goodbye, but it was what I had to do. And I think that hopefully she thinks it was best for her. But even though I was the one who did it, I was like, I'm still hurting from it, and let me channel this into something that I can hopefully help myself and help other people, get through difficult times in their life. And then that was when I picked up the guitar, and then that's when I was kind of like, okay, I need a new artist identity, because this is so decidedly different than anything that I've made before. Yeah. And so that's how everything Djemini came about. And I'm really, really happy with just now. That was kind of summer 2022 when that all happened, and just diving into it. And my best friend Marcos, he was telling me, dude, music is in your blood. You need to do it. And I've been watching from the sidelines the last couple of years, just, enjoying your music, but this is what you have to do. And like, I'm tired of holding my tongue, man. Like this is a part of you, and everybody is going to be impacted by your music if you just do it and you decide to do it. I don't care what capacity that's in, but do it. And that was like aligning at the perfect time when I'd kind of discovered what I wanted my new artist identity to be. Yeah. And then that's how I ended 2022. And going into 23, I was like, okay.
Let's put a pause on it there. This is the intro story, and you're about to tell the whole story.
Yeah, fair enough.
The entire middle of the interview. Let's get that foundation questions out of the way, though.
Yeah.
This next one, it's one we ask early, it's one we ask often, and it's definitely a crowd favorite. What was one of the first albums you ever bought with your own money?
I was trying to think back to when that was. And two of my biggest influence, one I mentioned earlier, was John Legend, and then another John was John Mayer.
Mhm.
And I'm pretty sure it was Continuum.
Hell yeah.
Continuum was just like always around the house, but I never had it. And then that was a moment where I was just hearing, it on the radio and stuff like that. I was like, I really want to like get this. And I remember going, I can't remember the name of where I went to, but I just remember I was a kid. I was like, Mom, can you take me to the store so we can get this? And then I like locked in. I asked the dude at the front, I was like, hey, where's John Mayer stuff? And he was like, oh, right back here with this. Great. I zoned it. I grabbed Continuum out the thing, and then I was done. And that's been a very influential album to, I feel like, who I am and musically what I enjoy.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
And then what was one of the first live shows you ever went to that was like one you wanted to go to?
I wasn't a huge concert person when I was younger. I actually didn't go to my first concert until after I graduated high school.
That's fun.
And then I remember the first one that I went to was Khalid. It was
okay.
Yeah, it was like at an outdoor lawn in Seattle when he was like just after he put his first album out.
Oh,
it was really cool. And then that same summer, then I saw Kendrick on the Damn tour.
Oh, damn.
And it was crazy because it was Kendrick with Travis opening for him. Travis Scott opening, and then Kendrick opening at the Tacoma Dome. And that show that was
crazy.
It blew my mind.
Yeah.
That was like a life-changing experience.
Yeah,
and
that was
a hell of a summer.
Crazy.
Yeah. So to have, a very chill kind of, vibey thing happening early in the summer, and then ending, I think it was like August, so it was like 2 weeks before I moved to college.
Mm-hmm.
And that all went down, and I left that in this like euphoric state.
Yeah.
Of like, wow. I
don't think you have a choice to otherwise.
No. What was crazy about Travis opening was he really did like a full set. And I mean, he had the full everything. It wasn't just he came on, did like 4 songs and dipped.
Yeah.
I think he did like 10.
Yeah.
And it was
when it's only one other act.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I think especially for bigger performances like that, when they're traveling around, like rather than have an opener and then a middle person and then another middle person and then the headliner, like that first performance is really to like get everybody going.
Oh,
It doesn't need to be a short one.
No, which I'm very grateful that it wasn't. Once again, I went off to college, then the bug kind of bit me. And one of my best friends and I, we started to go to concerts all the time together, and we really enjoyed going to like smaller shows of artists that we like on the come up, where we'd go to the Roseland like seemingly every month to see whoever it was that we wanted to see kind of in that setting, which we really loved. And so shout out to my boy Sage he was like, dude, you want to go to concert? I'll get tickets, you just let me know. And so that was a big part of my college experience. But yeah, those first two, Khalid and then Kendrick and Travis were special.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. All right, now let's go ahead and let's dive on into you in the present day.
Sure.
And I mean, we'll go ahead and we'll get the easy one out of the way. How did you pick the current name?
Yes. So Gemini just comes from I am a Gemini.
Same.
And right on. When's your birthday?
I'm right on the cusp, so I'm technically both.
Okay, right on. Well, yeah, my birthday's I'm a June baby through and through, and I always resonated heavily with kind of a lot of the Gemini traits, and people actually have the same birthday as Kanye and Frank Lloyd Wright, which are two people who I looked up to heavily. My dad was big into architecture, and so I'm trying to, in my lifetime, see as many Frank Lloyd Wright houses as I can.
Perfect.
And then Kanye was just a huge influence. I think after Continuum, the next album I bought, I was trying to think back, it was Yeezus. When Yeezus came out, I remember that I had to like sneakily go with my friends to get that one because my parents did not want me to listen to that. But yeah, so I am a Gemini, but my first name is DJ. This is what I've gone by my whole life. And so when I was thinking about what a singular artist name can be, was well, let me just play with the spelling. And then what gave me the idea was watching one of my favorite movies, Django Unchained, and the whole D is silent thing that he has throughout the whole movie. I was like, there it is. Yeah, let me just put all three of these things in a pot, mix it up, and then Gemini was born. And it's really cool because I looked and nobody had anything like that. Not on any of the, I have Gemini.com.
Oh, perfect.
Which is epic.
Yeah.
And so the next thing is getting the Instagram handle. I don't have that. Some random account with like 6 followers has it.
Oh, it's always how it
I'm
goes.
going after that.
Always how it goes.
Right. And so, but yeah, it just felt right. And the more that I started to go by that, I felt really comfortable and confident with it. And then through 2023, I really started, as I was going after music, it was like introducing myself that way. And I felt really excited about it. And people who didn't know me as DJ, they were like, oh, I thought that was your name. Huh? And so I'm like, sick. I guess I carry it well and I rock with it. People like it. So
Oh yeah.
yeah, that's how that came about.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And now let's go ahead and let's talk about your writing process.
Mm.
And we're going to break it up into a few chunks, but we're going to start right at the beginning. When you get inspired, so you're in the mood to make music. We're going to set the space here.
Cool.
What are some of the first things you do every time to kind of get into it?
Man, sometimes it hits me out of the blue. I think that happens for a lot of musicians, but most of the time it's just melodies floating around my head.
Mhm.
The moment I hear something, I like, oh, I'll stop whatever. I mean, seriously, it was like an hour before I came here. I was in the bathroom and my friend sent me a beat, and I'm like, I was coming out the shower when I was listening to this beat. So I was like, towel on, let me record something right away. And it was just the melody in my head off the top. I could get that on a voice note.
Mhm.
But before, I met a lot of producer friends and things this year. 90%, 95% of my writing process is just me and a guitar, where I just sit down with that Seagull
Mhm.
and I just sit down, and it might start with a melody and then I match it to kind of where I want it to sit in the guitar pocket, or it might be the other way. But like I said, 95% of the time, that's how my songs are born, or just me sitting down with a guitar, coming up with something and just saying how I'm feeling at the time. I'm a pretty expressive person with the things that I have to say, and I'm thankful that I have the medium of music to be really honest and vulnerable with what I'm saying in. And yeah, every time it's, again, now it's a little different, but pretty much until November of 2023,
Mhm.
every song was just me sitting on my couch, guitar in hand. Boom.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And then once you get a song finished, so let's say, you got the words down, you've gotten it written, you're ready to start practicing it. How long does it take you to get from that point to being able to perform a song?
Performing can be quick, because once I write a song that feels like one of those special ones,
Mhm.
it'll be in my own head for a while, or I'll listen to my voice note recording of it for a while, and I could probably perform it within the week. But releasing it is obviously a whole other thing, which I'm sure is another
Yeah, and I mean
questions that you have. Yeah,
it's I've kind of moved away from that one because it's an odder concept now.
Yeah.
Especially with just like the need to either like release consistently on a concept or like
Sure.
to be outside of that mold so heavily that like, and also I think the performing side of it is a little more of what I try to focus on now.
Cool.
Just because getting it in front of people as a performed element, I think is kind of at least in my opinion, should be the end goal most of the time. You know what I mean? Like once, like for like my personal approach, I always felt like you release music once you performed it enough that everybody knows it.
I like that too. And honestly, that was what helped me decide everything that I released in the last year, and helped me to decide what I wanted to record with the debut EP, was that every time that I would play any of these songs, I would get people afterwards saying, oh, that song Softly, that's one of those ones. Or that song Bouquet, which is my debut single, the reaction I had to that the first time I played that, even just at an open mic, people loved the song. And so I was like, oh, okay, well then that's the first one I'm going to do.
Yeah.
Or, oh, that's going to be the single, so I agree with you, because I think getting that feedback, not that it's should be the only deciding factor, but it's definitely something that helps.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, it's just, it's just one person's opinion. There are people who release songs every week.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like there are people who do it in there, and there's not to say that there's one more way than the other. It's just, I've always focused on, the reason I lean more towards the when do you perform it part is because I think that feels like the more like vulnerable moment almost, because you have to do it. You have to do it every time.
Yeah.
Once a song is out, then everybody can listen to it on a chord. Right. But for you to perform it, that has, that takes a little bit more.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah. So it can, like I said, it can be as quick. Like some of the shows that I did over the summer, I would write a song and was like, I need to do that right away.
Mm-hmm.
And that's actually how a couple of the ones that are on the EP came about. Like I wrote them and then I was like, oh, let me just try and perform them this week. And then I did. And then when they got that reaction, I was like, oh, okay, I'm going to do these every time. But other times they've been songs, that I've had for months sitting that I just really like, or that I've had friends, oh, can you do that one next time you play? And I always love that feedback. If songs I make are earworms for friends of mine, of course they're always going to be biased, but there's also that cool, like, yeah, they're not going to remember every single one of my songs. So the one or two that they do that I hear them humming, or they send me asking for a recording of it, I'm like, okay, those are probably the ones I'll add to the set.
Yeah. I think that's a really good way to go about it.
Mm-hmm.
And then looking back on the last year, so we'll say all of 2023, since we're so close to it.
Yeah.
How do you feel that your process has changed?
Yeah, 2023 was transformative for me. So much of it still is in the, the guitar and me just sitting there with a voice note open, just writing my heart out.
Mhm.
But I met a couple people who really impacted my life throughout the year. And I'll mention more people in particular, like toward the end. But Rain Ezra was somebody who opened the floodgates for me. Shout out to Rain, man. Meeting her not only introduced me to so many other amazing people, but it also kind of gave me the permission to be a little bit more expressive and honest as an artist, and helped me to realize that I can be a solid artist in all these different situations, where it's not just me at home by myself with a guitar. I can be in a studio with 10 people, or I can be in a studio with one person, or I can hop on a beat that is not characteristic of my acoustic stuff, but that I can do, something really exciting on it, something that gets stuck in people's head on it. And just being open to that for other people, that really all happened. I met Rain in September. And so it's like October, November, December were these 3 months where everything changed. And everybody that I met through her and through just embracing the music more allowed that process to be way more fluid, of all the different pieces, parts, people that can be a part of it. And I think that was what was missing from 2019 to 2022 was the collaborative element of it. And even the first 6 months of 2023, it was very lonesome just in terms of the writing process.
Yeah.
And, all my friends are amazing creatives, but none of them are musicians, like before the 2023. And now I've got all these musician friends, and I'm like, we can bounce off ideas for each other. And that is, I think, giving me a lot more peace as an artist, knowing that I don't have to like stubbornly go it myself. I can do it in a collaborative element, and I can be just as good, just as impactful, whether it's for my own solo stuff, helping other people, and that gets me really excited. So yeah, shout out to Rain and everybody that I've met through the year, because that's again opened me to so many new ways of going about music and people. Yeah,
and I think it's important too. I think sometimes we lose sight of the view that music used to be entirely collaborative. Like there was a point in time where it's like you could sit at home and write something, but also if you went to your local anywhere, there was music happening, and it was always just with the town. It was with the people, it was with the space around you. And, that's something that I feel is a little lost nowadays. But, especially with what Rain's doing, with what a lot of people are really trying to do to create like opportunities like that. I mean, Love Jones is another one. Shout out Love Jones. Just creating spaces for people to exist with their own music with other people.
Absolutely.
And that goes a long way.
Yeah. Yeah. I can't express how grateful I am for that process, and through all the people that I've met. Many, give formal shout outs at the end, because there's a lot of exciting things coming up that, again, I feel like it's the year of 2023 was what I was missing as an artist and as a creative in general, to be able to do that, because outside of music, the bulk of what I do is photo video. Yeah. And so being able to use those skills for my own music, but be able to give it back to my, the people who are part of my squad, who are, trying to really give it their best effort with this, but maybe they don't have the experience with visuals or editing or all these other things that I feel fortunate that over the last, 6-7 years that I've been doing. And so to be able to share that with not just, I'm going to use it for my own, projects that come out, but you got an EP coming out, like, let's shoot that. Let's shoot the visuals for it, or let's shoot some content for it, or whatever it is. Like that, again, Rain is somebody who inspired me to give back to the community and open that space for other people to be expressive in a way that's unique to them, and use your unique skills to be able to enrich whatever it is that they do. And that's why I feel so fortunate that I'm meeting all these people, because that's that like beautiful collaborative thing that was very much missing, not only in my music, but in my life.
Oh yeah.
Before 2023.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And then for this next one, I want you to look kind of at your sound. I want you to take a look at the general scope of it. And this will be this is the humble brag moment. But what are some things about your current sound? And I mean, we could use your EP if you'd like. I think that's kind of a good frame of reference, even if it's not quite present yet. Yeah. But what are some things about your current sound that you enjoy? Like the characteristics of it?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think I love the rawness and kind of grit of where my vocals are. It's definitely nothing like too intense, but it also it feels super expressive, and a lot of people, that's the feedback that I've gotten from people. They say I felt that, even just how your vocals were, and how it feels true to how you sing when live as well.
Mhm.
And that's I've had the privilege of working with Salvatore Manalo to help produce the EP.
Oh yeah.
And what an amazing musician and producer and everything. But what I wanted with the EP was for it to feel like it's exactly how it is when you see me live. And he's helped to do that in a phenomenal way. And I think a big part of that is that kind of raw emotion, slight grittiness, and then mixed with some, smooth like R&B stuff kind of in the cut behind that, because that's so much of how I learned guitar was through a lot of R&B chords and major seventh stuff that was just, that's what I like to listen to. And then mixing that in with lots of other influences that I grew up with. That's how I would say is kind of that, acoustic R&B with a little bit of grit and heartbreak mixed in there.
Yeah. No, that definitely that nails it pretty much perfectly compared to what I was listening to earlier.
Thanks, man.
Oh.
Yeah, did you listen through the EP?
Yeah, I did get to check it out, and
Awesome,
it's definitely got a really cool sound. The mix is really strong.
Thank you.
The mix is like notably strong. I mean, I do all my editing on Gen LX, so it's like that's how I hear mostly everything, and I noticed that was very prominent. Everything sits really nicely.
Thank you.
But like on the music side of things, everything did feel very comfortable. Like it didn't feel like you were like dabbling in an idea of a space that you might know. Like it felt very at home.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's a really amazing feedback. I appreciate that.
Yeah, definitely looking forward to it hitting all the platforms so everybody else can check it out as well.
Yeah. The Softly, the lead single, will be out on the 26th. January 26th. And then
that's exciting.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, everything will come out afterwards. Right after I leave here, actually, I'm going to a shoot where I'm working on some of the visuals
for
the project as well, which is going to be really fun. I've got this exciting rollout
yeah.
planned for it. So yeah, this is a really cool moment to document this before the debut project comes out and all these things. And I'm glad I got to share it with you. I'm glad you enjoyed it too.
Yeah. Thank you for sending it.
Absolutely, yeah.
All right, now I've got one last question for this middle portion. And this is definitely the densest question in the interview. But we've talked a lot about, the experiences with music, the things that you do with it, the things that happen because of it.
Sure.
But what does the music give back to you when it's just you and the music one-on-one?
I mentioned it a little bit at the beginning, but I'm sure a lot of artists say this, but it's just like that ultimate therapy, man.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many amazing moments and really difficult moments through everybody's lives. And to be able to have that vessel to release those emotions and thoughts and feelings all through something that can be summed up in 2-3 minutes is you have to articulate it in a way that you don't just talk for hours about it.
Mm-hmm.
It has to come out in a way where you had to really nail what it is that you're feeling, and to be honest with yourself about it in that way that it ends up in a concise, couple verses, maybe a bridge, and then a couple hooks is like something that it is a challenge for yourself in the best way. And for me, it allows me to process a lot of how I'm feeling or what I'm going through.
Mm-hmm.
And then, it certainly gives me back that peace that I think I'd be missing if I didn't have something to channel everything out through. And you could definitely hear that in the EP and what that's about.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
All right, now we're going to go ahead and we're going to move on to some hypothetical questions.
Beautiful.
And these ones, sky's the limits. They're all made up, so the answers can be too. But this first one, pretty standard one. But if you could work with anybody in the world, the only requirement is they have to be alive.
Okay.
But you could work with anybody in any capacity. Who would you like to work with, and how would you like to work with them?
It's a toss-up between the two artists that I mentioned earlier. They were huge influences to me. But I think because at the core of who I am as a musician at this moment and how I think I want to evolve, as especially as a guitar player and a musician in general, I think it'd be John Mayer.
Oh yeah.
Being able to work and build out what we're doing guitar-wise and build out what we're doing vocally, being able to jump into different pockets as he does, has always inspired me tremendously. And there's so many artists who I get a lot of inspo from, and my mom is like the biggest Usher fan, and so a lot of that R&B influence is like how I grew up. I mean, we had all of his CDs just around the house, and that was just in constant rotation. They saw him open for Janet Jackson
before
I was born, And so they didn't even know he was going to open. They just showed up because my mom loves Janet. And then my mom was like, who is this guy? And from that moment, that was before Confessions or anything, but they were just hooked. And so we have like every album in the house, and that's how I grew up. So I was going to say Usher because I love his music and who he is and what that music has meant for me. But I think it's just like the style that I feel like is most akin to who I would be as a performer and as a musician. I think doing something with John and kind of like a start to finish, like let's just sit down, me, you with a guitar, and let's just rock. And just see what comes from that, and lyrically bounce off each other, come up with cool guitar things together, and then be able to sing, whether it's back and forth or in cool ways together. I think that's just a dream of mine that I've had since I bought that Continuum album. Probably before that, actually. Yeah.
Hell yeah. And then subsequently, who's a local artist that you're aware of that you haven't gotten to work with yet, but you would like to?
Shout out to our guy that we were talking about before the show, but Oblé Reed, man. That's somebody who...
Shout out to Oblé Reed.
Yeah, shout out to Oblé, man. I'm excited to work together, repping the hometown too. Super cool. What he and Nash are doing is incredible on a whole conceptual level, visually and just thematically. I think it's beautiful. And, it's different, very different than kind of what the EP is or anything like that. But now that I've been working over the last few months with different hip hop producers and things like that, to be able to get into that kind of realm that is a little bit more...
Well, he also has a pretty big soft spot for the sound that you have. Like
thank you.
He grew up with that kind of stuff as well.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
It wouldn't be outside of the realm of sensical approaches.
Exactly. I think that even though like what I do is very different than a song like Hometown Hero or 222 or anything, like we could vibe on something like Skincare, or something that is kind of that where I could sit there with a guitar and then he and I go back and forth with a thing like that. So the moments I heard songs like that, I was like, oh. And then visually too, I just love he and again what he and Nash and the whole team over there are doing. I think it's incredible, and I'm a fan, man. And anytime I get to go back home to Seattle, it's fun to connect with other people now that I'm in the music space, and so to be able to do something with that and then rep the Northwest heavy. Spent 18 years in the Seattle area, and now I've been in Portland for 7-ish. And so to be able to rep the Northwest hard is something that I want to do big time. And to be able to do it with somebody who has got such incredible momentum and creativity to them would be a pleasure. So Oblé, I'm looking forward to working together, my man.
Hell yeah. And then for this next one, like I said before, sky's the limit. That one's literal in this sense. But if you could perform anywhere in the world, and you wouldn't have to worry about crowd access, building stability, power, guaranteed best lineup, guaranteed best show, and it doesn't have to be a venue.
Yeah.
Where would you want to perform?
It's new, but the Sphere in Vegas, if I could have the right team around me to create the visuals that would go with that and to do that to a full packed Sphere audience, I feel like there's so few people who have done that at this point. Obviously, like you two kind of kicked it off. Yeah. But I'm like, it's so untapped what you can do there. And because visuals is such a part of what I get excited about and all that, would be so fun to work with somebody who's like, here's how we could really build it to fit that environment of working in this ridiculously, I don't even know how to describe it. I haven't been, but I've just seen video of it. And I'm like, that right there, I feel like would be just elite, high level performance and creative culmination of what it is that myself and the team that I would work with would do.
Yeah, I can't even begin to fathom like what a show will be like. For that space or like what kind of comes from it, because then I feel like the step down from that becomes like IMAX theaters.
I guess.
I mean? Like for the people who are like, we want that experience, but we can't go to Vegas. Like suddenly all these movie theaters, or like I guess IMAX theaters are a little bit more encompassing, but like suddenly that space becomes a performative option. And those are here. I mean, OMSI's got one.
Yeah. Like, I was literally just in OMSI yesterday with my family. Yeah.
So like that, like I think it's kind of a new space. Yeah. Because like all encompassing visuals is something that before you really could only get on like a big festival setting. Right. Like you had to go to like EDC to see like walls of things or like Tomorrowland and things like that. Yeah. So I think creating that space I mean, as outlandish as the sphere itself
right.
is, I think the downscale version of it is something that's going to become more accessible in the future, and I'm really excited to see where they go with that.
That is a beautiful. I'm glad you said that, because that's firing off all kinds of ideas in my head of like, as I'm building out visuals, even in kind of small scale stuff that I'm doing with local shows and stuff. How can I envision what that would look like on a larger scale, and creating even more of an engaging, compelling experience when you go see it in person, and how to do that over the next 20, 30 years of my career as technology continues to evolve too. I mean, the Sphere is just the first of what I feel like is going to be many venues that are like that,
I mean, we don't even talk about the fact that VR is not super far off from, or not VR, sorry, augmented reality.
Yeah.
Augmented reality is it can't be more than 5-10 years away.
Right.
And that's like, can you imagine going to a show and you just sync up whatever you're wearing with what they're doing? Like, think of like the Gorillas, but it's happening 100%. You know what I mean? Like, that's there's so much room for the visual aspects to expand much further than even where they are.
Yeah.
But also, I think a lot of people don't take the time to expand the smaller spaces using a little bit of odd creativity.
Sure.
Like, you can create a half wall of something. You know what I mean? Like, white sheets are $12 on Amazon.
Right,
like, you know, like it's so doable to create your own projection space. It doesn't have to cover the ceiling, but you can make it. It's not impossible to even do like a shaped thing. So I think that as we progress, as those kinds of things become much more prominent,
absolutely,
I think that the ideas are going to start expanding further past that as well.
Oh yeah. So it's a beautiful time to be kind of in the. I'm looking at 2024 for me as like year one, essentially. We've dropped a couple singles last year, but to have this project coming out throughout, the first quarter of this year, and then going into the year with whatever amazing other things happen from that, and from all these other people that I have now in my sphere of people, is so cool to look at this as year one of thinking about how technology, how music, how listening to music and everything is going to evolve. That gets me so pumped.
Oh, yeah.
And to be trying to combine all of my different creative disciplines into one thing, because I do love the visual element of it. And like I said, before I even was doing music, I was doing photo video. And so that's why I love being able to create those things and work with other people to build them out, because I not only enjoy it, but I also have, like, on a technical level, understanding of how to be able to build them out. So I'm just excited to learn.
Yeah.
Like, I want to talk to the guy who makes the visuals for the Sphere and be like, yo, how in the world does this work? And just, even if I don't get like half of what you're saying, I just want to hear what the process is.
How bummed would you be if it was just a DVD player? Like, that's it. It's just on a desk.
Slide it
There's
in
nothing.
there.
You just boop. All right, I'm gonna take my break.
That would be great.
I'm sure it's not. But
that would be hysterical.
God,
you pull up and you're all gassed because you're like, I'm going to see all these different moving pieces of parts, and he's like, oh yeah, you just hit the button and you put it in, and that's it.
Yeah, he's just watching it. He's just watching it playback on a Vizio. He's just like, oh yeah, it's fine. Yeah, I'm gonna make some popcorn. You want some?
I'll be like, yeah, I guess. What? No, that's hilarious.
All right, we've got one last hypothetical question to go. So let's dive into this one. If you could get one more album from anybody, and they could be alive, they could be dead, they could have put out an album yesterday, they could have not put out an album in 100 years, it could be anybody. Who would you want an album from, and when would you have wanted it to come out?
Ooh, the second part of the question is really interesting too. I think I would have wanted another Hall & Oates album. And I would have wanted that when I was going through my breakup and everything in 2022. That is probably, outside of kind of modern artists that I listen to, probably the artist that my parents had on heavy rotation the most, like Hall & Oates, Michael Jackson, and then like Usher. Or like, if I were to name like the three that came like off rip of just what was in rotation most for my folks, it was those three. And I would love to be able to hear more of their stuff. I mean, I still listen like on my on repeat playlist on Spotify. I think like Sarah Smile is going to be there forever, and other songs of theirs are just always going to be things that I go back to. And so if I could have another album from them that was, whether it was like kind of with a modern flair that they would do like as they're writing now, or if it's something that was just akin to what they wrote back in the 70s, 80s, I would love it just the same.
And did you ever get to watch? There was a series that Daryl Hall used to do called Live at Daryl's.
No, I haven't.
It's on YouTube now. You can check it out. Like, it used to be on TV. Like,
wow, okay.
Like, accomplished musicians would go and perform some of their songs,
cool.
like some of his songs, like, but it was just these dudes just jamming in this. And the episode I always recommend to people is the Chromeo episode.
Okay.
Because it's incredible.
Cool,
I mean,
cool.
watching Daryl Hall perform some Chromeo songs, first of all, game changer. But the room
That's
is
epic.
just full of talent.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
definitely worth checking
I'm
out.
going to do that right after I leave here. yeah.
All right.
Man.
Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to start wrapping this up. This is the moment. Tell us what we can look forward to in the future.
Yeah, man. Debut EP is coming out. First lead single comes out January 26th. That's Softly. And there's going to be 3 more songs on the project that, again, once again, I had the privilege of making this whole thing together with Salvatore Manalo. So big shout out to Sal and just everybody who's helped to facilitate this growth. I wrote all the songs over the summer, kind of just in this very intense week of my life where I was like, let me just get all this out of my heart and my brain. And I wanted the right opportunity to be able to bring it to life. And it felt like the end of the year, everything just clicked. And so I was like, let me start off 2024 that way. So it's that, and that'll be kind of from the rollout of it is going to be Softly at the end of this month.
Mm-hmm.
And then it'll go music video for Softly, the next song, music video for that. And then we're doing the whole thing every other week for the whole project. And then,
so it'll basically be done rolling out by like the end of February, early March.
Yep. And then kind of as we get to March and then April is when I'll do kind of the full, like, here it is full project. And then here's a, live kind of release party of it and the whole 9. So we're going to do that with full band and everything, which is going to be really epic.
Oh, yeah.
I haven't actually done that before, which is going to be super cool.
That's exciting.
To do. Yeah, I've done everything. I've performed just solo.
Mm-hmm.
Now the music feels full and it feels ready to have full band with me.
Perfect.
And then as we get into spring, summer, the stuff that I've been working with a lot of the Portland musicians, that's more, summer good vibes, good feeling type of stuff. And that's more in the hip hop R&B space, which I'm so stoked about because these other creatives in Portland have unleashed something different in me that I'm very honored to be a part of and to create with them. So yeah, that'll be all spring, summer long pretty much.
Oh, yeah, definitely looking forward to all that.
Thank you, brother.
For this next one, go and look straight at the camera and tell everybody how they can find you.
Yeah, so you can find me everywhere, just at Djemini Music. It's DJEMINI Music. That's my handle on all socials. And then if you just look up Djemini on Spotify, Apple, everywhere you can find it. YouTube as well. You can find all my stuff there. I'm pretty active on Instagram, YouTube, all that. And then, yeah, you'll see all the releases on Spotify, Apple as they come out.
Oh, yeah. And then this is the big moment. Any other plugs, any other shout outs, anybody else you want to put on while you're on here?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I'm working on a video series right now that's talking about a whole bunch of people who really impacted my life. And I kind of have 3 different series that are all 888 things. So 8, lessons I learned making my debut project, 8 people that I have kind of outside of music who have really impacted my life, and then 8 musicians who all impacted my life. And I just want to shout out those people. And the first of which being my boy Jordan Sings. Jordan, I love you, man. Thank you for being my first music friend in Portland. It's incredible. He opened so many doors for me, and it's amazing. We performed together in that show that I said my family was at in November. We played that together. And then everybody I met after that, Adam Stockman, he introduced me to Rain, and then Rain and Views and Wavy Joseph, Mo Reese, Sam Pinkerton, and man, there's so many people. And then of course Sal. Those are the people who I really have enjoyed getting to know and create music with and write with and perform with. And so I love you guys, and I wouldn't be this excited or have this momentum without you. So I'm excited to just keep creating with y'all.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Now we've got one last question to go. But before we do, I'm going to steal the camera for just a second. As always, y'all, please make sure to like, subscribe, push all the buttons, do all the things. I don't know where they are, but you do, and I trust you. And one more shout out to the Brothers Apothecary. Make sure to click the link below. Go check them out. Guarantee you're going to like it. But with that being said, the final question. And this is entirely up to your interpretation. But what is an album you feel is more on the obscure side, but is one you wish everybody knew?
Oh. Obscure. I think a lot of people do know this album, but I think I want people to listen to it in its entirety and to really pull from it, not just like the couple of songs that were hits, but listen to it as a full body of work. And that's that second album I bought, Yeezus. It's definitely an obscure album, very different from any of Kanye's other work. But to be able to listen to that fully through and just hear what Ye was channeling through all the things that he was going through at that time in his life. It was a difficult time coming out of 808s and heartbreak and everything that was going on in his life and losing his mom and all these other things. And to be able to channel that into something that is so decidedly different that everybody told you not to do. And then he did it anyway. And he pulled in all these other influences and all these other things to be able to create that. And yeah, that's obscure. So to answer the obscure question, I would say that's that. There's so many other projects I think I can name, but that one in particular, I want people to listen to that and to kind of just like delve into, be more open to it, not just being like, oh, Kanye was on some weird stuff when he made this. Like, no, like take it for what the artistry is and what that is. I think more people would appreciate if they looked at it with a little bit more open mind. So
hell yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. All right, we're going to go ahead and get up on out of here. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks so much for having me, man. This is a pleasure.
Hell yeah. This has been another exciting episode of Jimmy's Jambox. I'm Jimmy.
I'm Djemini.
And we're signing off. Later, y'all.
That's a wrap.
This is not a podcast. This is a show.
Keep jamming.